Erev Tov, everybody. Good to see everybody. Happy Monday. Hope you're doing well. Second class of our new series on the Parashat Shavua. This time we invited the men to join us. The men are excited to be here. We have a good crowd, and we welcome everybody listening live and on the internet as well, on the podcast. Lots of great Torah over there. Not just my podcast. The truth is, there's just Torah everywhere. Wherever you want. If you want it, you can find it. We'll touch on that idea. Parashat Lech Lecha, arguably the best parasha in the whole Chumash. I'm a little biased. It is my bar mitzvah parasha. And, but every story, every episode from the beginning to the end is filled with information, filled with wonderful insights. So let's just go over the parasha like we did last week for Noah. We'll do the same thing. We'll go from the beginning to the end. We'll give it a nice overview of what is found in this week's parasha. The opening pasuk tells us that Hashem tells Abraham, or Avram, I should say, to leave his country. Lech Lecha, leave his birthplace, to the land that he's going to show them, and he's going to bless him. And that land, of course, is Eretz Canaan, which is going to be the future land of Israel. Abraham and his family arrive in Eretz Canaan. They arrive in Eretz Israel. Hashem promises Abraham that Israel is going to belong not just to him, not just to his children, but even to many, many descendants forever. But it doesn't start off so good. There's a hunger in Israel. So Abraham has to go down to Mitzrayim, to Egypt, where there is food available. Paro, king of Egypt, kidnaps Sarai and plans to marry her. That's what he wanted to do. Abraham already had informed Sarai that when we get to Egypt, to make sure that you don't let him know that I'm your husband, because otherwise I'm dead, and they're going to just take you. Tell him I'm your brother. Hashem stops Paro, punishes him. Sarai goes free, and she and Abraham leave Egypt with a lot of wealth, and then it was given to them by Paro. Lot was Abraham's nephew. He had been living and traveling with Abraham and Sarai. Now Lot and Abraham there's a little discord between the two of them, and they agree to part ways, where Lot ends up going to Sodom, the evil city. Hashem tells Abraham at that moment that he's going to have lots of descendants. They're going to be as many as the grains of sand on the earth. Hashem promises to give Eretz Yisrael again to Abraham's descendants. Then there's a war between 4 kings against 5 kings. The 4 kings win, and they capture Lot. Abraham hears that Lot is a prisoner, so he goes and defeats the 4 kings and saves Lot. Hashem promises Abraham again that his descendants are going to be this time like the stars in heaven. Hashem tells Abraham that his descendants are going to go to exile. This is the famous Brit Ben Abetarim, exile for 400 years, which is Egypt. It's going to turn out to be Egypt. But in the end, Hashem is going to save them. Sarai has no children. She can't bear children. So she asks Abraham to marry her maidservant Hagar, so that they will have children. Abraham listens to Sarai, marries Hagar. When Abraham is 86 years old, Hagar has a child, and Abraham names the baby Ishmael. When Abraham is 99 years old, Hashem changes his name to Abraham and changes Sarai's name to Sarah. He then gives Abraham the mitzvah of Brit Milah. And he also circumcises Ishmael at the age of 13 years old. And that concludes Parashat Lech Lecha in a nutshell. Have a great night, everybody. No, just kidding. Okay. All right. So, what are we going to talk about today? I don't want to stray far from the opening pasuk of the parasha, but we'll start with like this. You've heard of the concept of Ma'aseh Avot Siman Labanim. This is a concept that was introduced to us by the Ramban in Sefer Bereshit, where he explains that every mikre, every occurrence, happenstance, episode that was to take place to our Avot HaKadoshim, Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, are signs, are simanim for what is going to happen in the future to their children, to their descendants, to all of us here. And really, there have been many attempts by our commentators to go through these stories of Bereshit and to find the connection, to see how indeed it does affect everyone, and how every little story serves its purpose for us to gain lessons from it. And that's every single story in Sefer Bereshit. Avram is 3 years old when he recognized that Hashem is Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. He fought his father. He destroyed his father's idols. He fought Nimrod. He was thrown in the Kivshana Esh. He was thrown in the fiery furnace in Ur Kasdim. And he fought with his neighbors. He fought with his family. Everybody thought he was crazy, already from such a young age, and to the point where he now is commanded at 75 years old to leave the city Haran where he grew up. We don't know what happened in between. We have no idea. The Torah doesn't tell us. You might find some stories in the Midrash, of course, a famous story where Abraham is smashing all the idols, but the Torah basically, he's born in last week's Parasha, and then all of a sudden he's 75 years old, pick up and go leave Haran. What is happening in between? Why is it not mentioned? And where are these stories? The truth is that this Parasha, the answer is because the main lesson to learn from Abraham Avinu, as we're going to see, is the opening of the week's Parasha. Because this Parasha is what initiates Am Yehudi, the Jewish nation. Really, the world, the population of the world is Bnei Adam or Bnei Noach. Adam was the first person on earth, so we are all Bnei Adam. That's why, in fact, modern day language, we call people Bnei Adam. People, that's how we say people. But the nations of the world are referred to as Bnei Noach, the children of Noah. And that's why there are 7 Noahide laws that all the nations of the world have to keep. That's for the other nations. The Jewish nation, Am Yehudi, are people that stem from Abraham, children from Abraham Avinu. When did this begin? It began with the commandment of Lecha. Says Rav Samson Raphael Hirsch that this pasuk of Lech Lecha me'artzecha, this is Ma'aseh Avot Siman Labanim. It is, in fact, it's the entrance visa, he writes. It's the entrance visa to join the nation. Without this pasuk, as we're going to see, you can't really feel a part of Abraham. You can't feel a part of who he was and what he did and how he was the father of the Jewish nation and how we can belong to the Jewish nation. So there's lots of lessons of course, in the Parasha, and definitely in Abraham's life, in this week's Parasha, and next week's Parasha, and a little bit in the one afterwards. But there's a lesson here that I want to focus, one that I think is very important that we have to carry with us every day of our lives. That the first condition in order to enter Am Yehudi, when you are in passport control, and you say, Am Yehudi, come here, and you're lining up, the first condition that you must have is Lech Lecha. It has to be Lech Lecha. Again, we're stemming on the idea of Maseh Avot Siman Labanim, that everything that is being taught to us is really for us. The idea is that mankind are born with various different habits and adaptations that we adapt to in life. Every person is different. Every person has, I guess, different hergelim. We feel comfortable in certain situations and not in others, and that varies between people. Who we are and what we do and what makes us happy. But a lot of those habits and a lot of those hergelim are things that we have to learn to detach from, because they're not really our true essence. They're not really what we were put here on earth. To be an Am Yehudi, to be part of that nation, there needs to be a Lech Lecha me'artzecha mimolatecha. Hashem is telling you, it's time for you to pick up and go. You got to go because you got to find me. You have to leave your land and you have to leave your birthplace, because your land where you came from and the birthplace, it provided you with things, especially in the case of Abraham, of Avodah Zarah, of idol worship, and a lot of really, really bad things, horrible things that took place in Abraham's birthplace. Otherwise, it's impossible to begin a new dynasty. You cannot be the father of the Jewish nation when you're still hanging on to what you had in your past. So although Abraham discovered Hashem at the age of 3, But it wasn't until 75. Okay, some say it was 48. It's in the machlok in the Chachamim what it was, but it wasn't really till that age where Hashem finally realized now he can lead. Now he can be the role model for the future Jewish people. Now we can begin this new dynasty. But it starts with Lecha. Your first step, your first test of the 10 tests of Abraham was Lecha. And I should mention here that the rabbis are at odds on which was the biggest test. Either 1 or 10. Now, when you think about it, almost everybody would probably say number 10, when you take your son and you want to tie him down onto an altar and try to sacrifice him. But no, the Chachamim actually contemplated and thought that no, number 1. Because without 1, where do you start? Without the realizing the importance of detaching yourself from everything you came from, being that it was not good, then how can you begin your new life? But Abraham would probably be thinking, how do I do so? This is not easy. Everybody here is, I would call them middle-aged people. We're in the middle age of our lives, I guess. Abraham was 75 years old. For most people, that is towards the end. Now, he did live to 175, so he had another 100 years to go. Okay, but that was, again, an exception compared to today's day and age. But 75 is pretty, you have a lot of history, you have a lot of experience at 75. He must have had a lot of friends, a lot of contacts in his cell phone, okay, and a lot of friends on Facebook and Instagram. He had connections everywhere, especially that he was very, very popular. He had jobs, and now Hashem is telling him, pick up and go. Go, son, go, just go. Go to this land of Eretz Canaan. He's never been there, he's never seen it before. And that's where you're going to dwell, that's where your children are going to be. But I don't know what to look for. How do I know that I'm going to be successful? So Hashem says, don't worry. You should know that when you get over there, I'm going to make you into a great nation. I'm going to make your name great. I'm going to bless you. And you shall be a blessing. Because Hashem is the one who gives Parasha. And Hashem is the one who gives blessing. Hashem is the one that gives protection. He gives greatness. He gives honor to every single person. So what do you have to worry about? I'm telling you that in order for you to attain those amazing brachot, you have to be there. So therefore, I want you to go there. And you got to detach everything that you had in your past. There's a Gemara Masechet Brachot that we will connect to, I think, towards the end, maybe to what's happening in our current situation among the Jewish nation. But it's a very famous Gemara Masechet Brachot, Daf Hei Amud Aleph. The Gemara says that there are 3 precious gifts that Hashem gave to Bnei Israel. And each of these gifts were given with yisurim, with suffering. Torah, Israel, and Olam Haba. Torah, Israel, and Olam Haba. 3 precious gifts that the Jewish people have, but each of them were given with suffering. It's a very strange Gemara. What does this mean? A gift. Imagine you tell your kids, okay, kids, surprise, going to Disney World. We're going to Disney World. This is the happiest day of their lives. Yeah, let's pack the car. I'm going to go to Disney World. Kids, we're going to Disney World on one condition. What's the condition? We're going to rent a little minibus and we're going to get a private chauffeur or driver. But every time you come up on the bus or into the car, he's going to take a little baton and he's going to smack you on the side of the head. Every single time. So the kids will go, what are you talking about? Yeah, that's the condition. If we want to go to Disney World, you want to have this gift, this is what's going to happen. You're going to get smacked on the side of the head by the bus driver or by whoever is driving us. So any smart kid immediately will say, thanks, but no thanks. Dad, you know what? You can go on your Disney World trip yourself. I am staying home. I don't want any of this. What's the point of a gift that comes with suffering? And why are we calling it a gift? Why does the Gemara refer to it as a matana? Matanot are free. If I give you a present, I don't expect you to give me money for it or any price tag. There's a price tag here. I didn't ask for Yisuri, yet you're calling it a gift. So what's happening over here? What is the meaning behind this Gemara? So the Magid Midubno Magid, explains this Gemara by means of a mashal, a parable, as he usually does. That's what he was known for. He says Imagine there was a Jew, Miskin Jew, very, very, desolate, poor, and he didn't have money, begging on the streets. He would come, he would sit there with his little bag, and he would, put a little sign, "Please help," no job, no whatever. And people would come and throw coins in every day. And every day he would come home, his wife, see what they collected. Okay, here's a few rubles, a few dollars, whatever it is. Until one time the wife said, "Honey, we can't go on like this. It's so bad. I know, but what can I do? Listen, why don't you go away? Go to, take a boat somewhere. I don't know, take a caravan, as they used to do a lot back then. Go out of town, work for 6 months, work for a year, whatever, and come back with some money so we can put food on our table." So I thought about it. He goes, "Okay, I'll go." But he didn't have money for a caravan, so he decided to walk. This was a long, long walk. And the first night, he has to sleep. He has no money for a hotel, for an inn, nothing. So he's walking through the forest. It's getting dark. I gotta go to sleep. It's getting dark. He hears no one around him, no caravans. Now he starts to hear some sounds of some animals, wild animals. He's getting very scared. You got wolves, you got bears. Who knows what is found in these forests? He feels like, I have to hide. He sees a little rock, big stone, whatever, and he pushes it aside to hide behind the rock. And then when he pushes the rock, he realizes there's a little cave behind the rock. He goes, "Oh, perfect, this is amazing." So he goes further into the little me'ara, the cave, and then he pushes back the rock. And he says, "Here I'm going to be protected." And he finally goes to sleep, and he goes, "Let me see if the sun's out." He opens it, and all of a sudden the sun comes in. He goes, "Oh, the light's out." And he comes out of this cave, and the moment he realizes where he is, he looks down, and he sees that when he moved the rock to cover the cave, he revealed a tremendous amount of money and coins and jewels and jewelry and everything. He goes, "Oh my goodness." He's like, "What is this?" And he can't believe his eyes. And he said, "This is for sure somebody must have robbed a bank of something, and they're stashing it here, and they're going to come back and get it. And if I don't get out of here fast, they're going to think that I took that, and they might kill me." So he contemplates to leave, and then he stops. He says, wait a second. This money's here. I'm on my way to a foreign town to go make money. Maybe this money I can take this money to be this will support me and my family." And then he stops and he thinks, "What where am I going to put it? I'm holding my knapsack, my suitcase. Where am I going to put it? Where am I going to put the money?" He says, "I have an idea." So he opens up with the zipper of his suitcase, not too much. And he compresses all the things in his suitcase, like pushes it all the way in as much as he can. And as he pushes all of his clothing, he's slowly putting in some few dollars, a few bills, maybe a piece of jewelry over here. And then he finally closes it tight. And he says, "I got something. I got a little bit." And what would you call this guy? Call this guy a fool. What's wrong with you? You're a shoteh. You know how much money you have in front of you? You can't find any room for the money because of your clothing, your suitcase. With this amount of money, you can buy a whole store. You empty out the suitcase of everything that you have. You fill the suitcase with the dollar bills and the jewels and the gold and the silver, and then you go and you support your family for years. What are you doing? That's the mashal. What's the nimshal? What do we learn from this? HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't stand with a baseball bat preventing us from going and meriting learning Torah. Chas v'shalom. A person wants Torah, go and get it. It's there for everybody. Torah Hashem Temimah Meshivat Nafesh. It's there for every single Jew. Whoever wants to grab Torah, go take it. A person wants to be mitchaber to Eretz Yisrael. He wants to connect himself to the Holy Land. It's open. Go. Belong to it. Lecha tenena. as the pasuk says. It's yours, Hashem tells Abraham. A Jew wants to be zochet olam haba. He wants to merit olam haba, the next world. Baruch haba, Hashem is waiting for you. The tzaddikim of all the yesteryear are there in Shamayim, and they're waiting to welcome you with their crowns and their holiness. But in order to be zoche to acquiring Torah, but in order to be zoche, to be mitchaber, to connect to the land, and to be zoche, a life of olam haba, there is a condition. You have to empty the suitcase. You have to be willing to let go of the life that you had before in order to attain the holy wealth that you have in front of you. You need to be mitnatek. You have to detach yourself from the past to clear your heart, to clear your soul, in order so that you can acquire all of these very spiritual things. The Chovot HaLevavot famously writes, Keshem shelo yishkenu esh umayim bichli echad, just like fire and water together cannot reside in one vessel at the same time. Kach lo yishkenu belev hama'amin avat Hashem ve'avat olam hazeh ke'echad. So too, a person cannot dwell with his love of God and his love of this world at the same time. If you want to love God, then you need to detach yourself from the love of this world. You have to empty the suitcase. Why? Because habit, things that we're used to, things that draw us into this world, it rules everything. It becomes almost like a second nature. Second nature so much that it's so hard to get rid of, because this is the way we grew up. These are my friends. This is my boss. This is my job. This is what I grew up. This is my sports team. This is everything is something that is so attached to us that I can't just get rid of it. Chachamim have a beautiful explanation, the Gemara, on why do babies cry? Why do babies cry? So the Gemara tells us in Masechet Nida that many of us know this Gemara, that when a baby's in the mother's tummy, it is taught all the Torah, the whole Torah kula, from A to Aleph to Taf. And right before it comes out, comes a malach and strikes it on the mouth, and the baby forgets everything. It says Rabbeinu Bechaye, based on this midrash, Al zeh hatinok boche tekef sheyotze la'avir ha'olam. This is why the baby cries when it comes out and is born, because it's sad that it lost the Torah that it studied. Okay, there's another midrash that says that the reason why the tinok cries, the reason why the baby cries when it is born, is because it feels like it lost its world. It lost everything. Everything that it had and that it owned, it's over. Gone. What's the meaning? So some say it's really saying the same thing. That the Torah is really everything that it had for 9 months. That's what it was doing. It was studying Torah. And now the Torah is gone. So it feels like it lost everything. But we can say differently. We can say that the life of the baby for 9 months in the mother's stomach, the metziut, the actual environment that it found itself, was filled with readiness and easiness. It was there. Whatever the mom ate, it ate. Whatever the mom drank, it drank. And things were good. But that's a little bit, and therefore, but now it comes out and it's kind of like struggling. But even this, the rabbis wonder, but wait a second. Have you ever seen an ultrasound? Almost everyone in this room has seen an ultrasound. What a baby looks like in the stomach. The Gemara actually describes what the baby what's going on. But in the time before there was ultrasound, we can now prove with ultrasound that the Gemara was saying the truth. But the Gemara says the following. You want to know what the baby is like in the mother's stomach? Lepinkas shemekupalu munach. It's like a folded notebook. Yadav al shnei tza'adav. The hands are by the 2 temples of the head. Shte atzilav al shedei arkubotav. And the arms, the rest of the arms, are hitting the knees. In other words, the baby is crouched. Roso munach ben birkav. The head is like this in between the knees. Piv satuv. Mouth is closed. Tabura patuach. The umbilicus is open. And for 9 months, this baby is sitting there, can barely move. So much so that when it moves a little bit, it's like, the feeling. I don't have to explain to the ladies in this room. Okay, I definitely don't know what it is, but it's in a dark area. There's no light. It's mamash jail. It's prison. It can't breathe without help from the tubes that are there. It can't eat without helps of the tubes. It can't drink. And it finally coming out after 9 months. It can breathe on its own. It can eat on its own. It can drink on its own. It sees light. It can now start moving its limbs. Why are you crying? Why is the baby crying? And says Todot Adam very famously, because a person can be inside a jail, but if he's used to that life, if he's used to that environment, it's difficult to change from what you're used to. And even though he goes out free, he is crying because he doesn't know what to do. He can't handle it. And lo and behold, we actually see inmates, prison inmates, that get released from jail and they have no idea how to live life properly. So much so that they feel it's better in jail and they will commit a crime so that they will get back in jail because this is what they're used to. And that is the koach of hergil. That is the koach of habit. And it's so difficult to change. And if we are able to overcome that habit, automatically we ask ourselves, wow, I was such an idiot. What was I doing all these years? Why was I behaving like that? Because it's only then that you realize how hard it was. But you did it. That's the power of habit. Same thing with death. We talked about birth. The same thing with death. Death is one of the scariest moments. Ask any human being what scares you the most. A lot of people will tell you that when I die, when you die, because you don't know what's going to be. But why? Why are we scared of death? At first glance, you might say, I'm scared of death because I like life. I like what I have. I have friends. I have family. I have a nice home. I have a nice car. My job is good. I like food or whatever it is. And therefore, I kind of like it over here. I'm okay. But there's no reason really to fear death or to be scared because life is actually filled with a lot of problems. There's a lot of struggle. There's isurim. There's pain. There's suffering. You don't always get to keep your job. Some people lose their job. Some people go up and down in their parnasa. Some people go up and down in their health. Some people go up and down with their children. That's a yisurim that every person on earth faces. No one is exempt from yisurim. And yet we do know that in the next world, none of that exists. There is no pain. There is no suffering. There's no jealousy. There's no business problems. There's no overcooked food. There's no raw food. Everything is perfect. So you're going to tell me, yeah, but there's Gehinam. When I die, there's Gehinam. Yes, but even Gehinam, there's a limit. Gehinam is a 12-month period. And after that, you're in Olam HaNetzach. You're in a world of eternity. Where everything is the way it was supposed to be. The way that Hashem wanted before Adam HaRishon sinned. This is what it was supposed to be. So therefore, why are we afraid? Why are we afraid of death if we know that everything is perfect and then I have a olam shel netzach, olam of only spiritual, bliss in the next world? How can we explain it? The answer is really the same answer. It's koach hahergel. It's the power of habit. The fact that we are used to this world with all its difficulties and with all its sufferings and with all the troubles that I go through, and I'm cool with it because this is how I grew up. I expect that every so often someone's going to say something going to make me upset. I expect every so often my parnasa is going to have a little shake, or I'm going to get the flu, or because I'm used to it, and therefore I want to live here, and I don't kind of want to go to the next world. When really it shouldn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. We should be running to the next one. In fact, that's what we do. How do we comfort somebody after they lose a relative? We all say the same thing. Don't worry, they're in a better place. So you believe it inside. You're saying it to the mourner. Don't worry, they're in a better place. Yet, I'm not ready to go there because I'm over here. HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells Avraham Avinu, I am the owner of the world. I am the creator. Everything that you see around you, I made. I'm going to give you blessing, and sometimes I'm going to take away the blessing. But I'm telling you right now, if you want this, you have to be mitnatek, and you have to separate and detach yourself from what you grew up with. Because you grew up in a life of idol worship. You grew up in a life of evil. I have the bracha, and I'm ready to give it to you. I'm going to make you into a great nation. It's hard. It's not easy to do so. And this was Adam Harishon's first test. And again, according to many rabbis, this was the biggest test because you can't start otherwise. And how do we perform this test? We have. Number one, you're coming to this class. Any Jewish parent, set of parents that made the decision to send their child to Jewish school, to receive a Jewish education, or send them off to yeshiva or to a seminary, you are performing Lech Lecha me'artecha u'mimolatecha. You realize firsthand that no, Jewish education is the way to go, not idolatry education. You look at videos today and you see Harvard and you see Stanford and you see this one and Palestinian flags and anti-Jewish hate and we still consider them the great universities. It's all rotten hell, all those universities. So every single one of us that made the sacrifice of putting our children and teach them Torah and hiring people to teach them Torah or bringing them to Jewish classes and or listening on YouTube or on a podcast or any little words of wisdom, we are fulfilling Lech Lecha me'artecha. Get up and leave. Go to the land that I'm going to show you, where it's going to be only holiness. And that's really our main nisayon, our main challenge in this world. And again, it's not easy because we believe in schar va'onesh. We believe in the concept of reward and punishment, that if I do something wrong, if I hang on to what I grew up with, I might get punished for it. We understand that. I must have done something wrong. That's why I got punished. I got a raise. Okay, I must have done something right. But it's difficult for us to empty the suitcase. We can't do it. We're trying to keep everything we have and like push down our clothing so that we can just put in a few jewels. And that's not the way it is. To be matzliach is you have to get rid of the hergel. You have to get rid of everything to be zoche the bracha. Only after you empty the suitcase and all of the old stuff and your old clothing and your ripped clothing and everything that is stained and dirty and pagum and tameh and impure, that's when you can fill in all the wonderful jewels that are ready for you. Avraham Avinu didn't leave Haran by himself. He didn't leave where he was born by himself. The Torah tells us, Vayelech Avram kasher diber elav, Vayelech ito Lot. He took Lot with him. Lot was his nephew, as we said at the beginning of the class. And as long as Lot was davuk be'Abraham, as long as Lot was pegged to Avraham Avinu, and he saw him live a spiritual life, recognizing Hashem and all of his ways, then everything was great for Lot. But then there was a hunger, and they had to go to Egypt. And like I said at the beginning, as a result of this hunger, when they came back and they left Egypt, Paro had to gave Abraham a lot of money, a lot of wealth. And Lot, for the first time in his life, felt what it is to have materialistic pleasure. And at that time, his whole outlook changed. And everything he was used to with Abraham, now it's looking differently. And Abraham realizes this and says, I don't know if this is going to work. Because generally, the way we are born, the way we are bred, we think to ourselves, listen, I have a tough life. I work hard. I would love to listen to more classes. I would love to sit down and listen to another YouTube class or come in person. But the problem is, Hashem didn't give me a lot of money. So I need to work a lot to make a parnasa. But I promise you, if God would give me more money, you see how I'd make more time to serve Him and to love Him and to fear Him. But it's a mistaken thought. It is something that is false, because when a person actually attains wealth, not only is he not improving his avodat Hashem, it's the opposite. The wealth is what sinks you more into a world of materialism and chomer. Because something we said last week, it's not enough. You're always looking for something more and more and more. And in fact, the nisayon, the challenge, the test that you have as a wealthy person is more difficult than the test that you have as a poor person. Like Shlomo HaMelech says in Mishle very famously, Pen esba bechichashti. I'm worried lest I'm satiated and then I deny. Ve'amarti mi Hashem. Then I'm going to say, who is God? Because when you start attaining wealth and attaining property, and attaining nice clothing, and nice cars, and nice homes, then Vaishman Yeshurun Vaivat, the Torah says, you become fat. It's not physically fat, but you're fat with wealth, Vaivat, and you start kicking. I don't need this. You start kicking God forbid. And you start saying, okay, I'm the one who did this. I'm the one who accomplished all this. It's a danger. And Avraham Avinu saw this change in Lot. He saw that it was not the same. And he realized, I can't maintain this companionship. I can't maintain this relationship. He's my nephew. I love him, but it's not going to work. So you know what, Lot? He parted na me'alai. You want to go right? I'll go left. You want to go left? I'll go right. Whatever, I'm cool either way. He didn't force him to go anywhere else. He said it very politely because he loves his nephew. We know that. He went to go save him afterwards in the war. And the Torah tells us exactly and predicts what happens. The next pasuk, okay, Lot says goodbye. Vayisa Lot et einav. He looks up, goes, where am I going to move to? Which neighborhood am I going to dwell in with me and my sheep? Vayar et kol kikara Yarden ki chulam mashkeh. He saw the kikara Yarden, which is Sodom, and how luscious it was, how green, how much money there, how much potential there was over there. It was a very, very well-nourished land, full of nutrients. Before God destroyed it. So Lot, that's what he was looking for. He wasn't looking for the place where he could build a yeshiva, where he could find a school for his son and his daughter, or train his family to serve God. At this point, it was all about the money. It was all about the wealth. That's where I want, that area where the greenery said that's the best farmland. That's where I'm going to make the more money. That's where I want. I don't care about the Jewish schools. I don't care about the Torah learning. I want that. And that's what ended up becoming a lot, unfortunately, was falling into the trap of Sodom. And that's what it was. The Torah says, "Vaisa Lot mikedem." Lot traveled mikedem. Kedem literally means kedma, from the east. He traveled from the east. That's a little definition, but it's weird. Mikedem is a very strange language. So Rashi says, what does it mean mikedem? He siya atzmo mikadmono shel olam. He distanced himself. He traveled from the original authority of the world, which is God. Kadmono, kedem. He separated himself from God. That's the result, that's the consequence of a person who is not zocheh to understand what Hashem is all about. This world, as much as we love it, as much as we love our friends and we love our homes and our jobs or whatever, maybe not all of us love our jobs, but I love my job. But as much as we love this world, it's still filled with sevel, it's filled with yisurim. It's filled with things that we need to detach ourselves from. Kadosh Baruch Hu says, but you know what? I'm giving you 3 gifts. 3 gifts that are Yisurim. They're great gifts. What are these gifts? Torah, Eretz Yisrael, Olam Haba. Has there ever been a time like now where we see what it is Eretz Israel, to attach yourself to Eretz Israel. As much as we're thinking of other, we all kind of almost, we feel more connected now than ever. At the time where it's experiencing the most Yisuri, probably in its short history, the most Yisurin right now, we feel the most connected to it. And that's a gift. That's the gift. Because when everything is fine and dandy, then I don't feel the need to empty my suitcase. Now everybody's emptying their suitcase. Bring me back. The planes are full of the soldiers. I want to go back. I want to fight. I want to defend. I don't need to bring anything. All I want is Eretz Israel. All I want is Torah. Where's the tzitzit? You can't even find tzitzit in North America. You can't even find tzitzit, tefillin. They're sold out because they shipped them all to Israel for the soldiers to be zochet to the Torah and the mitzvot. It's there for you to drop everything you have behind. You have to drop your whole world because now you realize what's important. Olam haba, the mitzvot. Rabotai, this is the first test of Avraham Avinu. Seulmad. Go and learn what Avraham Avinu, Akadosh Baruch Hu commanded him. Lech Lecha me'artzecha. It's on us. It's our responsibility to find the wherewithal, find the will to say, I'm gone. I'm leaving all what I have behind. Anything that's bad, anything that's evil, anything that's going to pull me down into my birthplace, not my literal birthplace, what's keeping me at, the chomriyut, the physicality. I need to let go. I need to go El Haaretz Asher Areka, the land that I'm going to show you, Eretz Israel, Kedusha, the land of holiness, the land filled with spirituality, like no other land on earth. That is our test. That was Abraham's test, and that's our test because Naaseh Avot Siman Abanim Bezat Hashem Bizoche, with our continued learning and continued acts of chesed, and like Abraham Avinu, to realize this, to act on this test and pass this test with flying colors. Wishing you a wonderful night.